Hey, what's up guys? DOUGIE here, back again with another episode of my Carolina Hurricanes franchise mode series right here on NHL 19. You know the deal. In the last episode, we suffered another heartbreaking loss in the playoffs, falling in overtime of Game 7 to Jack Hughes and the New Jersey Devils. And today, I mean, it's tough to say we have to, pay the price and that we suffer the consequences, as I completely forgot the Charlotte Checkers were in the playoffs. We'll certainly follow along with them, as promised. But we know changes are going to have to be made to the roster. We got a lot of younger guys who are going to be pushing for the same spots. Changes will certainly be made. It's just a matter of how many. As the Checkers will be playing the Syracuse Crunch in the Eastern Conference Final, after beating the Hartford Wolfpack in 7 games. 4-1 victory in that Game 7. Again, how I wish you could look at the stats of the box score. You cannot. So we'll see what happens as they play the Checkers. Or not the Checkers, they are the Checkers. As they play the Crunch. And hopefully we can bring home some hardware this year, although it's not looking that great. Although a nice Game 3 victory is helpful. They have tied the series. The home team has yet to win. Boy, where have we seen that model before? A 4-3 loss in overtime, Game 6. And the Checkers are out. Unfortunately, Cody Berard suffered an injury. Talk about a player who is battling for one of the few spots on this team. It's not just the players already on the Hurricanes. It's the numerous players that we have on the Checkers who are battling, like I said, for one of very few spots. It'll be intriguing to see just how this all pans out. Of course, we didn't have any official goals for the season, so I'm not exactly handcuffed in my decision-making here, as the Sabres win the Stanley Cup and the Stockton Heat win the Calder Cup. So, man, Buffalo was good enough to beat New Jersey. I'm intrigued to see what that team happens to look like. Let's take a look here before we put basically the entire focus of the episode on our team, of course. So let's see. Buffalo at this point. Aturati, whose name I'm sure I'm butchering. My God. 94 overall. Whew. Made it up to franchise, too. That's insane. Went from medium or high elite to franchise. Igor Kuleshov also up there for them. An 88 overall. Braden Drake. So they've done very, very well for themselves in terms of computer-generated players. Quentin Byfield, Pelletier, Miles Wood, and Ryan JOHANSEN was there, but barely played. And on defense, Dante Fabro, of course, someone we let go of, went on to success. Dahlin's up there. They have Victor Hedman. That is a fairly ridiculous team. And the goaltender was Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. If this was the Finnish series, I would cry myself to sleep. But thankfully, I can look past it, as they beat New Jersey in 6 and then beat Minnesota in 5 in the final. That Sabres team, something else, or so it would appear. Of course, the Devils had won 3 out of the last 4 Stanley Cups. That is now 3 out of the last 5. Eastern Conference dominance continues in the series as Jack Hughes wins another Art Ross. The Hart went to Eliasson, again, who had a glitched out save percentage. Quinn Hughes wins the Norris. The Calder went to Young in New Jersey. Drake wins the Conn Smythe. The Vezina to Eliasson. And the Hart, I imagine, will go to him as well. It does. Well, the Ted Lindsay does. And Jack Hughes, of course, wins the Rocket Richard. Down in the AHL, Jack Quinn put up the most points. Milos Roman, the league MVP. Gino scored the most goals. Payarvi, the best rookie. Top defenseman, Lard. And Tuukka Rask for the Marlies. What never was. Tuukka Rask wins the Calder, or the Calder wins the best goaltender for the Toronto Marlies, I do believe. With that, let's see what the hell this offseason has in store for us. A lot of moves to be made. Not too many of them can be made at this draft. The Washington Capitals have the top pick, and we'll just have to see how all of this plays out. I need to double check how many draft picks we actually have. And then as far as who stays and who goes, I just don't know. Sidney Crosby calls it a day, as does Patrick Kane, who finished just shy of 1,500 points. Scored 656 goals, though. Stammer, JVR, Cam Atkinson, and others all calling it a day. Defensively, Jake Gardner, Tyler Myers, TJ Brody, Jake Muzzin, Radko Gudas, the top 5. And for goaltenders, Marc-Andre Fleury, Tuukka Rask, Semyon Varlamov, and Casey DeSmith, the most notable goaltenders to retire as Tuukka Rask becomes a scout. Interesting, interesting. So let's do this. It is draft day for the Hurricanes. Of course, we are allowed 7 picks, and we'll take a look at how many draft picks we have first and foremost before we do anything else. And the answer is 6. So we are going to want to acquire a draft pick. Now, I did mean to turn Fog of War back on, but again, I don't really plan on making deals for players right now. Although that might be the smart move, to be honest. So, we'll see. It might actually be the smart move. It'll at least be back on for free agency, because obviously I have no way to back out and turn it on now. So, goaltending-wise, there's really nothing to do here. I mean, Jordan Bennington's fine. Meekanoff and Fritz Meyer will be competing for the backup spot. I might just give it to Fritz Meyer next year just to reward him for doing well over the past few seasons. Defensively is where things can get interesting, as both Hamilton and Bean's contracts are up, and you factor in Luke Mittelstadt's deal being up. He's already pushed into a medium top 4 spot, so we're already looking at one of Dougie Hamilton or Jake Bean being gone, and I think the obvious move is to let go of 33-year-old Dougie Hamilton. So I think we've seen the last of him in a Hurricanes jersey. It'll be Riley, Bean. I don't know if we're keeping Bowen Byram still. He's just not a point getter for whatever reason. But, you know, he might be gone too, because Owen Power could step up into being a top 4 defenseman. So we may have seen the last of Jake Bean. I just don't know if we're trading him now. And then forward-wise, I mean, Svechnikov needs a new deal. Alto's going to need a new deal. Of course, we have re-signed the likes of Peterson, Whitfield, Trevor Zegras, Robertson, and Turcotte are going to need new deals. I wouldn't be surprised if we end up seeing one of our players get offer-sheeted this postseason, because, yeah, changes have to be made. But I think we'll hold off for now if we can. So our best course of action will be to trade down at least once. Now, we could look to trade up, but obviously we have a lower draft pick to begin with, and it's probably just not even going to be worth trying to trade up, as much as I would love to draft Rainier Stutzel, because he has a great name. So let's go ahead and sim to our first pick here, 22nd overall. We'll take a look at the top of the draft, and we have 2 81 medium elites, another 80 medium elite. It's not bad. Stutzel actually ended up falling to the 6th pick with Winnipeg. Not too bad for them. Let's see who's available to us. Ooh. We don't have much information on anybody here, do we? That's pretty bad. We have Vince Street, 20 points. Larry Murphy comparison, but we obviously can't trust that potential. Derek Nugent-Hopkins had 9 points, 32 assists, but obviously we can't trust any of that. Justice Manderville, great name, 37 points this year. He had 9 points for Radek Pavelka. We at least know he has a good shot. And then we have Rylan O'Reilly, 40-point season for him. Sylvain Legault, who's not too bad. And Nicholas Paddock. But nobody that we have a sure thing, you know, in terms of how good they are. Now, O'Reilly is at least closer to medium elite than Street and Legault. So I think if we're going to take a risk on anybody, it should be him. And he was up there in terms of shots. Now, the one thing that could suck is if he's obviously like a medium, medium's top 6, but Vince Street ends up being really good. But there's no way to tell. So we are going to take Rylan O'Reilly. Guarantee if he's on this team in the future, we call him Ryan. But let's hope for the best. And unlike with most of our drafts, we're going to have an immediate answer to how good they are. And he was ultimately a medium top 6. So 64 overall is not too bad. A little bit disappointing that he wasn't any better. Now, we did not have a second-round pick this year. That's the one that we were missing. And do I regret my decision? Not really. Street was high top 6. I don't regret that decision at all. We really couldn't have gone wrong. Let's see who we have here in the 3rd round. Oh, boy. We can take the risk with Moore, and when in doubt, go with the goalie and hope for the best. Or we can take Bob Homer, who just has a great name. And, I mean, Jonas Moore, 19 years old, said be a little bit concerned. Of course, when in doubt, go for the goalie works more so when it's, you know, when it's not a series like this where I'm trying not to exploit bad trade values in this game. But you never know. Moore could actually be worth it. Or this is the pick to trade down with. Problem is, I'm only allowed one pick back from this draft. Or one pick back from the other team. So that really kind of makes it difficult if you think about it. Actually, yeah, damn, I can't even trade down the way I want to. Because I'm only allowed one pick back. That really kills the purpose of trading back, at least for picks in this draft. So we're just going to go for Jonas Moore from the Sioux. Medium starter, 55 overall at 19 years old. That's not too bad, but nothing too special. We go to the 4th round, having drafted a goalie and a right wing. Oh, God. This isn't looking good for us, is it? Of course, I'm not allowed to scroll, but I can resort. Oh, boy. That doesn't help. That really doesn't help. So we have no choice. It is going to be Lars Bergfors, the 18-year-old Swede, who is going to have a very, very low overall. But Bergfors is the guy. 54 overall for Lars. In fairness, if I don't trade down, I'll just be missing my free pick. So otherwise, I'll be going with a center and 2 defensemen here. Which isn't too bad, in theory. Because we could go for Magnus Eklund here, who has a little bit more of a confirmed potential than Tristan Eberle. Eberle with 18 points. Eklund had nothing. Amongst the defensemen, Nicholas Sarich and Baldwin. Oh, God. Let's just hope for the best with Magnus Eklund. Why not? He is a medium top 6, but he's only a 50. That's rough. At least he's 18, though, not 19 or 20. And that will give us, I believe, the 2 defensive picks. And then we're good to go. I'm not even going to bother trying to trade down and get a free pick this year. The good thing is we get a little bit of steal here. Bobby Schenn, the Finn, I'm guessing. He's probably from, like, Denmark or something, right? Yeah, he was from Denmark. Damn it, I didn't even look at that. Here I am trying to sound smart, and it's like, no, duh. It's right there. It's right there. How smart you are. He's going to be the pick. He's going to be the pick. 49 overall. Oof. He'll be a good water boy. That's what he'll be. And we'll look to take one more defenseman. Right now, it's looking like it's going to be Enqvist. And only Enqvist. Because I don't think we have anybody else available. Him or Reinhardt, we might as well go for the Swede, Kalle Enqvist, 6'4" at 20 years old. Let's see how good he is. So no free pick this year. I'll forego my free pick. Enqvist was a low top 6, 59 overall. That ends the draft for us. So no free pick, no 7th pick this year. No point. It's like, hey, we can make a trade and get what? A whole bunch of nothing, essentially. With that free pick, that didn't exactly look like the best draft in the world, so I'm not exactly upset that we missed out on a free pick this year. So the re-sign phase. Now, we do have the spare day here to try and save a little bit of money, and that is exactly what we're going to do. So amongst goaltenders, Jordan Binnington, I mean, he's 32 years old at this point. Again, the save percentage last year wasn't great, so he can continue his hot towel naps with the Stanley Cup. We're going to be letting him go. In the system, I think we re-sign Fritz Meyer, find out how good he is for sure, and then McPherson is going to need to be re-signed. So Fritz Meyer only wants a 1-year deal, which is kind of a safe bet in case he sucks. Because even then, he's not going to go up that much more of an overall rating. So we will try to sign him for exactly what he's asking for. And aside from that, we're good. Defensively, as we'll look at all expiring. Again, I think Dougie Hamilton's time on this team is over. Luke Middlestat needs to be re-signed for sure as an RFA. Well, I say for sure as an RFA. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then Riley. So obviously Hamilton's gone. It's just, is Owen Power going to take that step forward? William Borgen's going to be dropped as a depth option. DeLuca, I'm probably not going to re-sign. He's not bad for the AHL, but he's never really going to develop. And Kozlov, we're going to drop without signing him to his ELC. So it's just the question of Bean and Middlestat. I might as well... I don't know what to do, because if there's a good free agent, I have the freedom to go for them. I'm still so tempted to trade Bowen Byram. But Middlestat, potentially letting him go as an RFA, might not be the worst idea in the world. He's looking for $4 million. Of course, in this series, I'm trying like hell to not be like, okay, I'm going to sign a free agent and then just immediately trade a dude that's already on the team. Like, that's what we're trying to cut out, is the wheeling and dealing aspect. But I don't know. Like, it might just be a necessary evil of this episode. I'm going to try to get Middlestat for $3.9 over the next 4 years. Jake Bean is going to be expensive. Not as expensive as I thought. Does he want to sign? He does. So if I can get Jake Bean for 4.7, technically that does put him in the no trade clause territory. A 7-year deal though. I'd probably, I mean, again, that would bring him up to at least 35. I'd probably want to drop it to 5 years. But the problem is at 5.3, that brings him in the no movement clause territory. Or I could just give him the years that he wants, which is probably the safe way to go. And we'll see if he accepts that. I mean, I don't know if there's a right answer there to re-sign Jake Bean, but we have to bring him back. I mean, he is a proven point producer, especially in postseason runs. We have to bring him back. It's just, do I want to sign him for 7 years until he's 35? Odds are, I'd still have the ability to move him. It would be a no trade clause. So you know what? Because of that, let's go for 4.7 over 7. See if he signs, because that could be a ridiculous contract. If he does, that's no trade clause territory. And again, Dougie Hamilton's on the way out. Middlestat, we don't have to worry about it because he's an RFA. And then in the system, we already covered that. Right wings, S. Alto. I think we're on board with re-signing. If we can. We'll try to get him... I'm on to try to get him for 4 years, but that is a pretty massive jump up in terms of what he's looking for. But if he were to sign it, 45%, 4.5 over 4 would be amazing if he's willing to sign that. So we're going to go for it. Simon Robertson, who is also likely to be traded, we'll get him hopefully on a 4-year deal. And that would drop that down to about 2.5. I'll go 2.6 just to play it safe. So right now, the only guy we'd have to worry about a no-trade clause with is Jake Bean. Pedersen's going to need his ELC. And Lenny Killinen is going to be dropped to make room for some other younger players. Which is pretty straightforward. Left wings, Andrei Svechnikov. Still an RFA, so we'd avoid the ELC, but there's the key. He only wants a 1-year deal. He's smart. He wants those UFA years to kick in as soon as possible. He wants to command what he gets, so this is big. We're going to try to go 6.8 over 2 years for Svechnikov. Again, I'm only allowed to change the contract term by 1 year, either one more or one less than what they're asking for. So that's rough. Fierro will probably re-sign. He still has a little bit of room to get better. Let's go 2 years and pay him just the max 2-way deal. Darling probably won't be signed. And then centers, Alex Turcotte, still an RFA. So you see, oh God, but again, he only wants that 1 year. So again, you see just how there could be some issues in the future once a lot of these guys are up and have, the UFA rights. We'd have to start factoring in no trades and everything, and it would be a lot more expensive. Brett Leeson was okay last year. I'd like to try and keep him. We'll see if he accepts that. That would be a good contract for us. Luke Henman is finally going to be dropped, and Hillen will be signing his ELC. So the big question is what happens with Jake Bean, and whether or not we are looking at or just how much of a no-trade clause we're looking at. So that's our best chance to try and save a little bit of money. Let's officially start the re-sign phase. We're going to lose some scouts, but that's okay. Svechnikov has signed, which is beautiful. So we got him for that extra year. Jake Bean has signed, so we will have to spin the wheel for him. Alex Turcotte has signed. Mittelstadt signs. Fierro, Fritzmeier, Leeson, Robertson, Alto, everybody signed. That is absolutely tremendous for us. I mean, you literally couldn't ask for anything better, but that leaves us with $1.7 million in cap space. So free agency-wise, we're not going to have much to work with. So we know Jordan Binnington's on the way out. It'll be Fritzmeier probably as the backup next year. McPherson will be signed to his ELC, and that pretty much does it for us in terms of goaltending. Defensively, you hate to see it, but Dougie Hamilton's going to go. He's 33 years old, still a point getter, but we just don't have space for him. We just don't. As it is, he'd be looking at a 5-year deal. I'm not going to sign him until he's 38 years old. So Dougie, thank you, but you are gone. Will Borgen is also on the way out. DeLuca is going to be on the way out. No point in qualifying him. Kozlov, who was a 4th-round pick, is going to be dropped. And that does it for now for the defensive side of things. On the right-hand side, Pettersson needs his ELC. Lenny Killinen is going to be dropped. And we're good on that front. Left-hand side, I mean, again, there are going to be trades. There has to be. Darling, Doug Darling, who was a 4th-round pick as well, will also be dropped without being, a Charlotte checker. And then centers, we have Luke Henman, who will finally be dropped. Hillen, though, will be signed. So we are good on that front. So the only thing to do now is going to be spinning the wheel for one Jake Bean. So again, 2 wheel spins, with this being a no-trade clause deal. It is a 7-year deal. So the first spin determines the amount of years that the no-trade clause is active, and the second determines the amount of teams. Again, it is a 3 to 25 team list. So with a 7-year deal for Jake Bean, how long is this restrictive no-trade clause going to be an option? That is the question. And the answer is for 1 year. So we just got incredibly lucky. We basically have freedom to do whatever the hell we want with Jake Bean, which is nice. So that is, again, a 1-year deal. It is going to be a 3. Well, here, we already have 3. So let's go with 8, 9, and 10. Not 41. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25. So, how many teams are on the no-trade list for just this first season alone? That's as much as it factors into a 25-team no-trade list. You know what I'm going to do really quickly? Because I feel like that spin was incredibly short for how big that wheel is. I'm kind of hoping it still lands on 25, but I almost felt like that was too quick of a wheel spin, and there's so many options on the wheel, it didn't even really go for it. So 25 and 15 is what it landed on. I'm going to spin it one more time. One more time. 25, 15, and 24. You know what? We'll just do 25. Perfect. We will just do 25. That works for me. That is pretty much perfect. So, again, right now we have Morgan Rielly on a full no movement clause for his entire deal. Jake Bean is on a 25-team no trade clause for just the next season, and then we have freedom to trade him wherever we please. So he will be a Hurricane for at least one more season. with that, we are good to move forward, unless we have a couple of people reject their contracts, which hopefully they do not. But that went about as well as we could have hoped. McPherson, Pedersen, and Hillen have all signed. I'm not even going to worry about the scouts, because I'll just send the offers, or send offers to the best scouts that are available once we get to the start of free agency. And we will see what we're dealing with when it comes to free agency, because again, we don't have any money to spend. It is simply going to be the best prospects available, or at least who we can assume are the best prospects available. So Serge Dupont, Davidson, and Mrs. Kvapil will be the ones that we go for. Good old Lars Davidson and Lubomir Kvapil. Lubo. I was tempted to go for Tuukka Rask, but it's like, just get the best available. As it is, our scouts seem to be failing us a little bit lately, so we'll play it safe that way. Now, when it comes to the amount of contracts we have available, we're at 45 out of 50, so, I mean, I'll be intrigued to see who a free agent is, but again, we have no room to sign any big-name players. Although Elias Pettersson, Victor Hedman, Anthony Mantha, Justin Falk, Hamilton, and Fabro lead the way. So when it comes to goaltenders, the question is, do we have a half-decent prospect? We've swung and missed a couple of times on goalie prospects, so I don't know if I feel overly confident in my ability to sign somebody here. Hello, though. Samu Latikainen, the 20-year-old former 5th-round pick of the Hurricanes. Go figure. He was not very good in the SHL last year, though. I don't trust that he isn't medium elite, like he probably is, but it's not looking too good, is it? And none of these guys have played. They're all listed as other goalies as well, which means they're going to have really, really low overalls. Matthew Linglet is at least 19 and has played a couple of games. Renberg had an 898. And Josh Perry. So I think the only guy who would really be worth signing is probably Matthew Linglet, just because he's a little bit younger. He played over in Liga as well. He was undrafted. The Denmark native, I think I'm going to hold off just because I don't trust that any of them are that decent, to be honest. I think they're swings and misses. So we'll completely forgo signing a goalie. Defenseman. Do we have anybody half decent here in terms of prospects? And again, we have to judge it solely off of player stats. So first up is Ola Timander, 2nd-round pick of the Coyotes, listed as a minor league top 2. He's also had 20 points, so he's also a point producer. That is, I think that's the guy right there. I mean, unless we have somebody with a confirmed potential, he's the guy. He has to be. And the rest are all others, so you know they're going to have some lower ratings. And Nugent Hopkins is 21 and closing in on a low elite, but unless that was confirmed, I'm just not doing it. So we will take a chance on the first guy who was listed, and that was Timander, because we know he's at least going to have a half-decent overall. It's just, what is that potential? And then forward-wise, let's see if we have anybody else here. And the good thing is, again, we really don't even have to fill out the roster. We can do that once we're in the preseason. I mean, we know we're going to have to make trades, right? So, let's see. Anybody? All others. You have Ryan, Cappy. It's not looking too good. A low elite, potentially, in Duchesne. And aside from that, we'd have to go off of point totals. I don't know if I trust that. Although, 52 points for Pierre Jacques, who was undrafted. Hello, Maurice Lavasseur, 6th-round pick of the Canucks. Ed Thomas is 22. I gotta be honest. I mean, I don't know, man. Dillman had a ton of points, though, and he's at least younger. Some of these other guys are a little bit older. You know what? Let's go for Dillman. Former 3rd-round pick of the Vegas Golden Knights. Let's go for Dillman. He's at least younger than a lot of those guys that were showing up with high point totals. I mean, man, there were some 22-year-olds there with high point totals. As DuPont signs as a scout, Kavapil as well. Dillman are obviously signed with the team. And we'll see. Teamander also signed, as did the scout Lars Davidson. So we are good to go. Let's cruise ahead to the beginning of this new season. And whether or not I even bother handling all the trades that are potentially going to happen in this episode, I don't know. Depending on how many deals could potentially be made, I honestly might just leave it up to you guys. I don't know. It really does depend. If there are big decisions, there might as well just be a vote from you guys as far as who should stay and who should go. And I can't help but feel that it is going to be a decision similar to that. It's gonna have to be. I can't view it any other way. Unless somehow the majority of these guys haven't developed, you just know there are going to have to be a lot of faces leaving this team. So let's go ahead and see what the situation is, shall we? We are listed as champions. For goaltenders, Fritz Meyer still listed as a medium starter. Technically, we do have 5 goalies signed, but we do have space to go out and sign a true backup goaltender, at least in role, if Fritz Meyer can't get the job done. So for now, we're okay. But, you know, there could be improvements, and I suppose we can actually, in here, let's just, for the hell of it, let's go take a look right now, see who is available. Hopefully somebody half decent. Amongst goaltenders, Tristan Jarry, Grubauer, Binnington are the 3. How was Grubauer last year? Not good. And Tristan Jarry was phenomenal. I mean, it might just be that, you know, Fritz Meyer, I'm sorry, but Tristan Jarry is a lot better than I thought he would be. We're just immediately going to send an offer to Jarry, and Fritz Meyer will be down in the AHL. So let's just go ahead and sim ahead until Jarry signs. And of course, off screen, I'm going to have to reassign all the scouts. But there we go, Tristan Jarry. I've heard Jerry, I've heard Jarry. I'm going to go with Jarry. But he will be our backup goaltender this season. Pretty straightforward. Fritz Meyer and Meekinoff down in the minors. Defensively, we have Riley, Bean, Byram, Middlestat, Power, and Vahalati. Holy hell. He's not an 88, but Teamander, who we just signed, is already NHL ready. Are you kidding me? Out of nowhere, we sign Ola Teamander, and this dude's already NHL caliber. There's no way he's actually an enforcer. He's probably a straight-up defensive D. Right. So we could trade him, but I'd get in trouble. Or we could trade Owen Power, Jyrki Vahalati, who's finally made the team. Or we look at trading like Byram or Middlestat, because we think either Power, Vahalati, or Teamander even could be a top 4 defenseman soon. So that is a decision to make. One of those defensemen has to go. We'll talk about that more in a second. And in terms of AHL defense, we're going to want to bring in 1 or 2 depth options, which means we have a lot of forward options. Are you ready for this? Because I don't know if I am. Although, you know what? Screw it. I think we will probably straw poll this. So let me know. Morgan Riley's safe. Jake Bean, we'd have such limited options this year that he's safe. So it's between Teamander, which again, we just signed him. We have no idea how good he actually is, but we can assume he's decent. We have Teamander. We have Bowen Byram, where we don't quite know how good he is this year, but we can assume he's not that much better than what he's been. The issue is, while he's not a major point getter, like the real-life Bowen Byram will probably be, he's been solid defensively. But do you want to spend $3.25 for 2 years for someone solid defensively? Isn't that bad. Luke Middlestat just signed that new 4-year deal. And last year he put up 19 points. And then we also have Owen Power, who, 3 years at $2 million. as far as his numbers. I mean, last season in the NHL as a rookie, 21 points. And then there's Jyrki Vahalati. You see his numbers from the AHL last year. He would be a rookie this season. One of those defensemen have to go, and I will leave that decision up to you. So what it will be, there will be a poll in the description. It will be multiple choice. Vote for who you want to stay out of those defensemen. The player with the least amount of votes will be the one that we get rid of. We'll do it that way. So the poll will be who should stay. Vote for who you want to see stay. Vote for every single one that you want to see stay. The player with the least amount of votes will be voted off the island. We go to the forwards. Here we go. And already you can see that at least one player out of the third line group has to go. How many third liners do we have? All right, Gugnot still listed. The Gugnot is still listed as a depth, so we'll be sending him down. How many third line guys do we have? Oh, God. Whew. That's problematic. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Okay. Right. So first and foremost, we have, what, 5 fourth liners? 4 fourth liners. So the fourth line this year, we have Alanen, who's up to 24 years old. 2 years left on his deal at 1.5. You know what? We have to turn off Fog of War for this. We have to. At least while we're looking at our team, we have to turn off Fog of War, just so you guys can see the full setup. We got no choice. This is too big of a decision to not have. And I mean, I guess that's the fun of it, is to see just how good some of these guys are. I guess that's the challenge. You know what? No, that's the challenge. Screw it. As frustrating as that is, why it's frustrating, of course. You know what? Screw it. We should have more information on Alanen. How much has he really improved beyond last season? Screw it. Fog of War back in effect after this. So, here's the situation. The fourth line this year, we have Alanen, who is an 82. You see his numbers there, very, very well-rounded. And in terms of his production, he's been tremendous as a fourth liner. That is all you can really ask for. He has been great. But down in the AHL, we have Reese Ray, former first-round pick of the Preds, last year of his ELC. He'd be a rookie this year, as you see the numbers he had put up in junior and in the AHL. And again, fairly well-rounded. The skating's a little bit weak. You have Per Pettersson, who just signed his ELC. Pretty accurate shot with good offensive awareness. The one downside is the puck skills, essentially. But he just signed his deal, which is great. And then there is Alexander Tulipov, 24, very well-rounded. 1 year left on his ELC. As you see, his first season, last year, 20 points on the fourth line. So, same thing. It'll be multiple choice with the 4 forwards who are listed as fourth line forwards. The player with the least amount of votes will be who is voted off the island. That vote is, again, between Alanen, Ray, Pettersson, and Tulipov. One of them has to go. And that brings us to this mess right here. This gigantic block of third liners. So obviously, one of them can stay and play in the top 6. And then we have another 3, which means 1, 2, 3 of them have to go. 3 of them have to go. So I will leave it up to you guys. Although I guess you could argue, hey, maybe Whitfield. And you know what? I mean, I'm not totally against... Oh, man. You know what? That is how we're going to consider it. McKinnon's safe. Svechnikov is safe. Alto's safe after what he did last year. And Dylan Peterson is safe. But from Whitfield down, they will be on the poll. So Jamie Whitfield, 7th overall pick of ours in 2019, making $7 million for the next 5 years. But over the last 2 seasons has been anything but the top 6 dynamo that we have needed him to be. Does he get another chance to turn it around? Trevor Zegras, or Zegra, depending on who you are, making 5.5 over the next 3 years. We know what he is capable of offensively. 3 straight 60-point seasons, although last year in the playoffs, kind of meh. We have Mario Dupont, former first-round pick in 2022 on the last year of his ELC, but played 19 NHL games last year due to injuries to others, had 14 points, was over a point a game in the AHL last season. We have Simon Robertson, who just signed that new 4-year deal at $2.6 million per, an offensive dynamo in terms of attributes, and had 59 points last year, up from the 40 he had as a rookie. Alex Turcotte making 2.8 for the next 2 years. Again, very well-rounded, although the defense and the offensive awareness might be a little bit lacking. Last season, he put up 41 points. He dropped, of course, in between years. His second year was a bit rough, but a bit of a return to form last year. Cody Berard, a second-round pick of ours in 2022, last year of his ELC. That ridiculous shooting category is certainly the highlight, but again, it would be his rookie season as you see what he was capable of down in the AHL. I accidentally hit back one too many times, which is a damn shame, but that's okay. We got nothing but time. Nothing but time. Let's go back to roster moves. From there, Dupont, Robertson, Turcotte, Berard, Theo Rochette, perhaps. $2.3 million for the next 2 years. As you see his stats, again, the shooting accuracy is a bit weak. Not all that physical, but still a decent third-line option. Has been capable of 50-point seasons in the past and a 45-point season last year. And then the last option is Steven NEILSON, who would be taking a step up from the 4th line, former first-round pick of ours. Fairly well-rounded, although the shooting category leaves a bit to be desired. 2 years left on his ELC. He put up 17 points last year, was on pace for about 35 in his rookie season. So what we are going to do between Whitfield and NEILSON, every single one of those players will be on the poll. Vince Russo style. No, but every single one of those players will be available to be voted for. Again, you're going to vote. It's going to be multiple choice. You're going to vote for who you want to see stay on the team. And like I said, at this rate, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we'll say 5, 6, 7. So then 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. However many out of the bottom have to go. I'm too tired to do math right now. But that is the way we are going to handle it. The players with the least amount of votes will be voted off the island. The problem is it really does depend on whether or not Whitfield is in that bottom half. But between, again, Whitfield and NEILSON, they'll be voted upon. You'll be voting for the 4th line and the 3rd pairing defense. Although, like I said, Byram, Middlestat, they will also be listed. So there could be some pretty ridiculous changes here to this team, and the changes, the situation here is so ridiculous that I'm going to leave that decision up to you. So make sure to vote in those polls in the description as well. Let me know down in the comments below, what should the goals for the season be? Goal for an individual player and goal for the team in general. Feel free to be creative. Feel free to be ridiculous. But just make sure that you leave some likes on some of the comments. Let's get those comments up. Let's get those thumbs up. Man. We passed 15,000 subs. Come on. Drop some damn likes. I'm kidding. But thank you guys for the support. Again, we are approaching the final few seasons here in Carolina. The new stuff will begin probably within a week or two. Depends on how quickly I can finish up some last-second editing. But I thank you for your support with the series. I will see you in the next one, where obviously the goal will be to win the Stanley Cup, but the question is, who's going along for the ride?